Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a beautifully simple yet deeply profound short story titled Crossing the River. It was penned by the celebrated Indian author Manoj Das. We're going to look really closely at this narrative because it serves as this brilliant allegory. It perfectly illustrates that age-old tension between academic knowledge and actual lived belief. We've got a lot of fascinating layers to peel back today, and I've organized the ideas to guide us right through the very heart of the author's message. Okay, let's dive right into this by posing a seemingly impossible scenario. How do you cross a flooded river without a boat? I mean, it sounds like the setup to a riddle, right? Well, in the context of our story, this isn't some hypothetical puzzle. It is a very literal, physical barrier blocking our main character. This simple question serves as the hook for the entire narrative, really challenging our understanding of what's possible when the rigid laws of nature meet the absolute boundless potential of the human spirit. To understand how we even get to that impossible question, we gotta meet the players. Section 1, the pundit and multi, scholar versus milkmaid. Right off the bat, the author sets up this stark, totally intentional contrast. On one side, we have this celebrated pundit. He's wealthy, highly educated, and super eloquent. He's the kind of guy who can hold hundreds of people spellbound, talking about incredibly complex matters of God and truth. He represents peak scholarship. And then, on the flip side, we have Modi. She's a poor milkmaid, completely naive and uneducated. But she is exceptionally dutiful. Literally every single day, no matter how heavy the rains are, she takes a ferry boat across the river just to deliver a tumbler of milk to the pundit. Now, Modi doesn't understand a word of the pundit's complex speeches, but she completely reveres him. She genuinely believes that because he uses all these big words about God, he must be incredibly close to the divine. Keep this power dynamic in the back of your mind because it's the foundation for everything that happens next. So, that peaceful daily routine sets the scene. But you know every good story needs a disruption. Section 2, a vow and a problem. The flooded river.
The disruption actually comes in the form of a request. The pundit announces he's undertaking this special vow for a specific ritual. And for this ritual, he needs Modi to deliver his milk at least an hour before sunrise for an entire month. Modi, being the incredibly devoted servant she is, enthusiastically agrees. She sees this as a huge privilege to help a holy man, but she immediately hits a wall and she actually fails on the very first day of the vow. So why did she fail? Well, because the river was in spate, meaning it was completely flooded. As Modi explains, it was impossible for the boatman to ply his ferry boat in the pitch darkness across a raging, flooded river. He just flat out refused. It was simply too dangerous. And honestly, it's a completely logical, physical limitation.
This perfectly logical problem leads us right into Section 3, the secret formula, a mystical joke. This is the exact moment the story shifts from a mundane scheduling issue into a really profound philosophical exchange. So the turning point is actually this joke the pundit makes. When Modi tells him she couldn't cross without the boatman, the pundit decides to be a bit sarcastic. He says, "I wonder how then the mystics say that one could cross even the ocean of life by uttering the name of Vishnu." He's just making a jocular, cynical observation about the very scriptures he teaches. He completely assumes Modi is far too uneducated to understand the metaphorical import of his little academic joke. But here's the kicker. Modi doesn't see a joke at all. She takes him entirely at his word. When she murmurs that no one ever told her this, the pundit playfully doubles down, declaring that is a secret. He lets out this loud, arrogant guffaw at her naivete. He thinks she's just a foolish, simple woman. But Modi, she offers this quiet, profound gratitude. She genuinely believes this great holy scholar has literally just gifted her a magical secret to solve her problem. And that unwavering belief propels us straight into Section 4, the river miracle, a month later. Fast forward a bit. An entire month passes, and Modi successfully delivers the milk an hour before sunrise, every single day. The vow is complete. Naturally, the pundit is thrilled with Modi's service and gives her his blessing. But then logic kicks back in for our scholar. He remembers the treacherous, flooded river. So he asks Modi to pass his thanks along to the boatmen for waking up so early all month. Modi is super confused. She tells him she never even bothered the boatman. The pundit is totally baffled by this and asks, "Who then plied the boat for you?" Modi's response is the absolute punchline of the story. She says, "I just utter the name of Vishnu and walk across the river." She explains that the water just remains ankle deep for her. The pundit is flabbergasted.
He points out that the river is heavily flooded, but Modi simply reminds him that she used the secret he gave her. Honestly, she's actually surprised that a man who has memorized hundreds of pages of scripture somehow managed to forget his own secret formula.
Obviously, the pundit's academic brain just cannot process this. He concludes she absolutely must be kidding him. There is literally no other logical explanation. So, to prove himself right, he decides to investigate. Picture this. It's a foggy dawn, and you've got this highly educated, celebrated pundit quietly tiptoeing behind a poor milkmaid down to the muddy riverbank, just trying to catch her in a lie.
And this brilliantly illustrates the climax of our narrative. The pundit hides in the bushes and watches. Modi pays her respects to the river, picks up her empty pot, and simply steps out into the flooded waters. Struck dumb, the pundit saw her crossing the river, walking with ease. The scholar, faced with the undeniable reality of a miracle that defied literally all his theories, almost faints on the spot.
Man, what an incredible scene that paints. But what does it actually mean? Let's decode the deeper message Manoj Das has constructed for us here in Section 5, Scholarship versus Faith, the core message.
This brings us to the real meat of the explainer, these two opposing forces. First, you've got scholarship, represented by the pundit. He possesses vast amounts of knowledge, but it's secured merely as a theory in his head, completely detached from reality. He talks endlessly about crossing the ocean of life, but he laughs at the idea of it actually working. Second, you have innocence, represented by Modi. She lacks formal education, sure, but she possesses a knowledge that actually works. And why does it work? Because it is fueled by complete faith and total surrender.
So, the absolute crucial takeaway here is the miracle of faith. It occurs when pure innocence and complete surrender achieve exactly what intellectual theory deems physically and logically impossible. The pundit had the words, but Modi had the faith. And in this story, the faith is what parted the waters. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes overanalyzing and intellectualizing a concept can actually strip it of its real power in our lives. Let's move to our final section and see how this builds directly from the life experiences of the author himself. Section 6, about Manoj Das, the author's life.
Looking at the life of Manoj Das, he was born in 1934 and went on to become an award-winning Indian author, writing in both Odia and English. But honestly, the most telling milestone is 1963, when he actually moved to the Sri Aurobindo ashram in Puducherry as an inmate. This wasn't just some guy writing theory from a distance. He immersed his own life in spiritual practice and ashram living. His profound understanding of the nuances between simply knowing about the divine and actually experiencing it clearly earned him massive literary respect. He won the Saraswati Samman in 2000 and the Padma Shri in 2001. He truly lived at that intersection of intellect and spirit that he writes about.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. I really want to leave you with a provocative thought based on everything we've just uncovered today. Where in your own life are you relying on mere theory instead of living with complete, actionable faith? Are you acting like the pundit, holding on to knowledge intellectually but maybe laughing at the idea of it actually changing your reality? Or are you more like Moti, willing to take a step into the rushing water with complete trust? It's definitely a fascinating question to chew on. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.